Okay, welcome, passionate for his purpose people and Facebook friends. Coming to you live. I know it's on a Friday night, but I've got some things that I would like to share with you, and I also, once again, would like some feedback from some of you. I'm going to try to make this short, and again, everybody's laughing that knows me. But I really need some input. I'm thinking a lot about. Um, some new things to integrate, and now I want to kind of share how this came about. Those of you know I've been out of full time employment since the end of September. So I've been actively looking for a full time job since October, and a lot of things have kind of come and gone. And recently, I had been working for a company for about a month, and things just didn't pan out, and I knew that it was going to be temporary. But this morning, and I'm just kind of being honest here, sharing my journey, sharing the good, the bad, the ugly. And so this morning I went in and I talked to the current employer and told him, I said, this is going to be my last day, and handed in all my stuff. And so as of this morning, um, I no longer I'm going to be working with the company that I was working with. It's only been employed with them for about a month, and so I started, doing some Uber driving this morning, and I've done that in the past, kind of, help get some, earn some money, and but I went from a, in obedience, I went from a pretty lucrative salary to zero. And I did that because I felt the Lord directed me to step out into the unknown like Abram. And with that, there comes a lot of human thoughts and things that you deal with. And, I struggled just like anyone else with stepping away from what I'd been doing the last 10 years at that job. And it was not an easy decision, but I knew the Lord was directing me to do it. And none of the website and none of the new ministry had ever even entered into the equation yet. That came later, after, like Abraham, I stepped out in obedience and obeyed the voice of God. But um, today I had some really, if none of you have ever experienced what it's like to be an Uber driver, or, to get an Uber drive, it's really interesting. You get to meet a lot of interesting people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of experiences. I met a Canadian today, and I got to drive this person around and take them. So I get to talk to a lot of different people, and one of the main questions that people are asking me as I'm driving them around is, "Hey, are you a full time Uber driver?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just kind of doing this because," and it starts a conversation that they ask me things, and it leads into, well, hey, what are you doing besides this? And so I start to share with them, the new ministry opportunity, and start sharing some things of that nature with them, and it really starts to pique their interest. And a couple of the guys today started asking me about, well, hey, what are you doing on the site, and so they just keep probing, and I kind of start sharing a little bit more, and before you know it, they're so interested, they want to know the name of the website address, and so I give it out to them. You know, there's not reluctancy. I don't feel like I'm not supposed to, and so I share, and I'm sharing with them what I'm doing, and they start asking further questions. About, well, what kind of products are you selling? What are you doing? And so I go into that, and so to make a long story short, it really got me to thinking today. One guy, before he got out of the truck, he didn't want to get out, and he started talking to me, and he said, the things that you're sharing with me, he said, I think a lot of people might be, or might not, he said, would be interested in learning how to set up their own website, or how to set up their own business. And I started thinking, yeah, that's a great idea, and I've got it in my heart to document the journey of how that has happened with us, with Trisha and myself, in building out the website and the tools you need in order to make it work, even though it's just beginning. But nevertheless, it's still something that has got me thinking. And I left that conversation today thinking, okay, this is something that I think is very valid. And so it got me to thinking about the possibility of adding, I get, for lack of a better term right now, what's called a consulting type of service on the website somewhere, an option. And so, as I've thought about that over the last, hour or so, I started thinking, well, I wonder if anyone would be interested in this. And if you're, I've got one person that's watching this live, but there are going to hopefully be some in the archive watching it later on Facebook. But I would love to hear your feedback about, do you think, or would you be willing, to pay? It would be a paying service, a consulting service fee for like an hour. I guess I could start out for an hour, and the way we would connect would be via Skype, and it would be for 1 hour. And I would actually record. I've got some recording software where I could actually record the session, and whenever we're done, that session could then be emailed or shared with you across, uploaded to like OneDrive to where you could access it and you could download it and have for future reference. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. But before I actually implement something like this, is this something that you would, be willing to pay for? And let me just put this out here. I have no idea of what the cost would be. I know it would be a valuable service. So you have to, some of the things that I'd have to consider would be time. I'm putting together a recording for you, providing that service as well. And any of the knowledge that's shared too. So there's a lot of different elements when it comes into trying to determine. So what I'm going to do is, over this live broadcast, is I'm going to say, would you be willing for 1 hour to pay anywhere between $50 to $100 an hour for learning how to set up an online business, an online website, or something that's related to that? So for that hour, we could discuss something of that nature, whatever you might be thinking, or if you're just wanting to ask me some questions about, well, how do you get started? How did you get started? Any type of question that would be related to establishing. For me, it's an online ministry, and that's definitely something that I could help you with, but it could go beyond that. It could go beyond just, and I say just because being in the ministry is great, but, it could be any kind of a topic, or just something that's related to this. A lot of people, they have a lot of ideas on the inside of them, but they just don't have anybody that could come alongside them and empower them and give them the tools and the knowledge to be able to implement something like that. Now, for me, I've had some people do that with me as well, and it didn't take much, because I'm pretty, I pick up on things technologically pretty quick, and so I was able to take that, study it, and run with it, and get going. So what might take me just maybe one of these sessions, it may take you 2 or 3, I don't know. But ultimately, what I would like to do is provide a digital course of some sort that's much more in depth on how to do this. But obviously, I can't help people immediately, because that takes time to develop, along with all the other things that I know I'm supposed to be doing as well. So that's why I'm saying I would set it up in 1 hour blocks with you if this is something that you're interested in doing. And, I noticed someone else came on here just a minute ago. I didn't see who it was, but, what I'm talking about doing is adding a consulting service link or page or something on the website, where I offer 1 hour service for, things that you would like to know about starting an online business or starting an online ministry and how to set it up, or anything related to those topics for 1 hour. It would obviously be paid. I would record it, send you the Skype recording, and the range would be right now. I'm thinking somewhere between, that's reasonable, somewhere between $50 to $100 an hour for this 1 hour service. So I would love to hear your feedback. You can do some live feedback if you want to now, or if you prefer to do it later. But if you would be interested in something like this, I would be willing to set this up on the site somewhere, and that way you could go and you could, I would bullet point what you get, kind of what I've talked about here. You get the 1 hour session, you get the 1 hour Skype call, you get the 1 hour Skype call recorded, the 1 hour Skype call recording sent to you via OneDrive or Google Drive, or however we can get it to you, because it's obviously going to be a larger file size that can't be sent through email. But I would get that to you however I could. There's ways to do that. So if you're interested in this, great. So just let me know. I would be thrilled to work with any of you on this. So, and be honest with me. If this is something that you think, hey, I don't think anybody else would pay for, or I wouldn't pay for. I mean, just tell me. Be absolutely honest. But I would like to think that this is something. I had at least 3 people today that I picked up. The conversation went down this pathway, and they were like, "Man, you need to get people involved, because they want to know. This is something that I wanted to know about, and you were sharing it with me." And so I think Robin came on. Robin, I was just talking a few minutes ago about how, when I started, driving Uber today, it was a pretty exceptional day, and I met a Canadian. I met, some really interesting people that showed interest in wanting to learn more about how to set up a web. This one guy said he wanted to learn how to set up a website, and the others were like, "Man, I'd like to exchange ideas with you of how to come up with ideas for something like this." So that's what I'm offering to do. That is something that I think would help everybody. So again, this is going on about 12 minutes, and I don't want to continue to belabor this, but I think it's a legitimate service, and just please provide me any feedback. I'm also thinking about maybe reaching out to the people that have signed up for my email list and sending out a broadcast email and just asking their opinion, because one of the things that I've learned is with this is, the Lord's in it. First of all, that's the most important thing. But the other thing is, you don't want to spend a lot of time and energy and resources into something that is not going to be beneficial, and something that's not really needed by other people. And so in other words, you want to validate this. I'm not saying validate, when the word of the Lord comes, he validates it on its own. But there is a way that you want to validate. I don't want to go out and put together a digital course. This sounds kind of cheesy, but on how to create popsicles, and nobody around me wants to know how to do that. So that's my whole point. I want to generate things that my audience, anybody, whoever that is, all 10 of you right now. No, there's more than that. But things that are needed, and I'm telling you, this is a vast world that we live in. There are problems on every side, but the thing that we are created to do is not only find problems, but bring solutions and resolutions for people. And so that's really kind of what I'm saying here. And maybe you're one like me, that you've had this idea in your heart to do, but you just never knew how to implement it. I've been there. I was there. And thankfully, over the years, the Lord has taken me through a lot of different changes, and he's putting me into situations that have helped me develop and learn the skills that I needed to in order to make this stuff happen. Some of the very tools that I'm using, well, all the tools I'm using right now have not really been come directly from me. It's come from other people that the Lord has directed me to, and they've just kind of shared these things with me. So that's what I'm doing with you. And so if you want to go down this pathway with me, like I said, I'm pretty much open. As of today, my schedule is really flexible, and I think the flexibility is there to be able to help people like yourself with doing these types of things. So I'm gonna stop there. But again, thank you for, if you came in just for a few moments, and those that are going to be listening later, please let me know if this is something that you want to see happen, and please give me some of your comments. I'll probably be posting this on YouTube, and then considering sending this out as a broadcast email. So anyway, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this. I'll see you next time.